In today's video, we're going to be talking about the new injury update around Lonzo Ball, along with the resurgent play of Zack LaVine. We're going to be talking about what that means as they get ready to take on the New York Knicks. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we are going to go ahead and look at the new update around Lonzo Ball and his injury status, along with the resurgent play of Zack LaVine and some of the interesting comments that he had to say as the Chicago Bulls get set to take on the New York Knicks here tomorrow. So let's go ahead and jump into this first piece talking about Lonzo Ball. And this injury update comes from Casey Johnson here. And so Casey Johnson essentially is saying that with Lonzo Ball, he has started to do some dribbling work, but obviously he still has some pain in his wrist. There's still no target date for his return. And also he talks about his knee is definitely fine, which is a good sign here for the Chicago Bulls. And so starting with that, I think that, getting Lonzo Ball back is going to be huge for this bench. We clearly struggled in the bench area last night, and we're going to talk about that. But, I think that when Lonzo does come back, it is going to make things a bit interesting for Billy Donovan and this team because, you've had some good performances from, I think, Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry. They've certainly shown that they're ready to take another step and they need some playing time. We have our first round pick in Modest Buzelis, who needs as much experience as possible, and he doesn't seem to be getting those minutes. THT has played well in spurts, and so he's definitely shown that he can certainly help you and be a part of the rotation. And then you have Ayo Dosunmu, who I think is kind of emerging as the leader coming off of this bench. And so it's going to be an interesting dynamic when Lonzo Ball comes back. And just this goes into, I think, one of the main issues with this team is just that, the awkward roster construction that we have. We have so many players out there that just need to get these minutes in order to be evaluated so the Chicago Bulls can see exactly what they have. And so, I am curious to see how Billy Donovan is going to really take care of this, because I think that this is something that is going to be a constant, and it is something that is super important to the Chicago Bulls long term, because you cannot just focus on just winning games now. You have got to continue to think about how your youth movement is going to impact this team long term. And in order to really evaluate and make sure that those players are in the best position as you continue to get this roster where you want it to go, is you've got to play these players. And so this is where Billy Donovan is going to have to continue to make some tough decisions. It may mean that there's going to be some starters that are not closing the game. It could also mean as well that you might have to push somebody from the bench into the starting lineup. And so this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing as we continue on and Lonzo Ball gets closer to his return. So next, let's talk about Zack LaVine. And Zack LaVine, I think that we need to give Zack LaVine his flowers like we are giving Vooch his flowers, because both players have been excellent for the Chicago Bulls. And I know that Zack LaVine is still struggling a bit with the turnovers right now. I think he leads the team at 3.4 turnovers a game. But still, offensively, you can tell he is making some good decisions out there. And I think that he's also playing with an excellent pace. And I love that about Zack LaVine, because last night we saw a player that was not just taking the three-point shots. I mean, he was getting to the basket. He was finishing with authority. And I like this turnaround game that he has right now. It's a nice little post-up game, and it's been lethal. And I love that about Zack LaVine. And it really just shows the sign of patience with Zack LaVine. And so I've got to give him credit. And I was just going ahead and I was listening to the post game with Kendall Gill, and then Kendall Gill is talking about Zack LaVine coming back to an all-star level. And I think that he has played at an all-star level, just like Vooch has played in an all-star level. And last night, look, 26 points, 3 assists. He had the 6 rebounds. He did have 2 turnovers, but again, he led us in the plus minus amongst starters there with 16. And so I think that Zack LaVine is super locked in. I think that I have seen some of the better defensive performances from him in this small sample size. And I think that this is something that the Chicago Bulls are going to want to continue to see, especially if they're looking to maybe trade him or if Zack LaVine wants to be traded. Heck, the way he's playing right now, I'm even thinking that, look, with 3 years left on his contract, I could see a move where AK could possibly keep Zack LaVine and continue to build. And so, I mean, I think that that is a scenario that is still on the table because Zack LaVine is still young enough. And I think that if he can continue to play like this, maybe the Chicago Bulls perhaps build with him. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. And so moving forward, just some of the things that Zack LaVine is talking about and just the way that he's been super locked in. This is what he had to say about this upcoming Knicks game and facing Karl Anthony Towns, a teammate that he played with in Minnesota for 2 years. He says, look, hopefully I can trash talk him a little bit, maybe get him off his game, get him to miss a couple of 3-point shots. And so I'm sure he's probably joking, not joking, but I like this about Zack LaVine. I love the fact that he is super engaged at this point in time, and I think he's going to have a good game. And, you know, I know the Knicks are a good team, and they're definitely a deep team. Obviously, they're well coached with Coach Tom Thibodeau, but I think that this is a game that the Chicago Bulls can get, just like they can get or could have gotten this Cleveland Cavaliers game. And it's just going to come down to really the basics and not turning the basketball over, because when you look early on here, just the statistic that just really jumped out here is that the Chicago Bulls lead the NBA in pace, and right now they're at 105.05. The Knicks are at 96.06. And so, you know, if the Chicago Bulls can play controlled and not turn the basketball over as much and just get into their running style, continuing to make the right decisions, getting, you know, paint advantages with Vooch and, you know, the cutters that we're hopefully having here going to the basket, then the Chicago Bulls have a chance against the Knicks. And that is what I'm looking forward to seeing against the Knicks. Can the Chicago Bulls start to just get more into the winning habits and get more into the basics? Because that seems to be something that they really get away from when they take these losses where they're turning the basketball over. And this is something that the Chicago Bulls absolutely must correct. They've got to get the handle on this, because I think at one point the Chicago Bulls, look, they've had 7 games in 12 days. And so you're just not getting enough practice time. And this is just basic things that you must take care of. And so finally, as we jump out of here, just a quick reflection of last night and just, you know, just another key takeaway here. Look, I know we had the Cleveland Cavaliers really on the rope, and going back to what Kendall Gill had to say post-game here is that, you know, really 21 turnovers, 35 points off of those 21 turnovers for the Cavs. I mean, I think that that was really just the story of the night. And then I want to go ahead and give some credit to Donovan Mitchell, because look, Donovan Mitchell against the Chicago Bulls, he's averaging 28 points a game, and in like 10 appearances against the Chicago Bulls, so you at least have to play 10 games against them, he has the second highest all-time scoring mark against the Chicago Bulls. So for whatever reason, Donovan Mitchell likes to play the Chicago Bulls, and so he certainly was on one last night. He had a spectacular layup against Julian Phillips as well. And so, look, that really is a key takeaway from this game. Donovan Mitchell doing his thing, and this shows you why the Chicago Bulls need to find a franchise player. And so, you know, whether it's going to be one of these young pieces or they're going to have to go in the draft and find one, this is why you need a franchise player to be able to take you home here. Another key takeaway here is that when you look at the bench too for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you see just how good they were on the bench as far as scoring and things like like that. And for whatever reason, I don't know why Billy Donovan elected to really shorten the rotation. I know we didn't have Jalen Smith out there, but that is something that we cannot do moving forward, especially with these younger players that just absolutely need to play. And so with that being said, let me know in the comments what you're thinking here about this recent news around Lonzo Ball. Do you think that we need him back as soon as possible to really help this team, help this bench? And what do you think about Zack LaVine? Do you feel like Zack LaVine, the way he's playing, there is a path for him to stay with the Chicago Bulls? Or do you feel like, look, at some point he's just got to go? Love to hear what your thoughts are. Just want to thank everybody out there for liking and subscribing to the videos here at Bulls Digest. It means a lot as we try to reach 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season ends. And look, even though we have a lot of questions about these Chicago Bulls, and I continue to keep saying that, and look, even though we may take a loss against the New York Knicks, I just want to see the Chicago Bulls continue to play the right way, continue to evaluate these young players so we can see exactly what we have. And for this franchise to seriously just pick a direction here, because I want to see this team back to contention again at some point. And quick note about the Cavs. Look, they're the 8th team in history to start 12-0. And guess who else had a team that is in that history? That would be the Chicago Bulls. The last time we did it, we actually went on to win an NBA championship. And so hopefully we get back to those days. So before we get out of here, as usual, I'm always saying it, go Bulls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.